and welcome to a new episode of the Woolly Witch of the West. That would be me. I'm Madeline. You can find me on Instagram. I'll have a new Facebook group as Woolly Witch of the West. If you're looking for me on Ravelry, my name is too long, so I'll be WoolyWitchOTWest. I'm also part of an art collaborative with my spout creature, Fox and Spider Arts, so you could find me there on Instagram, Facebook, all over the place as well. So welcome. This is a video cast about fiber arts, mostly hand spinning and knitting with a little bit of everything else thrown in there. I'm also a novice natural dyer and I'm learning to weave as well, so a little bit of everything along those lines here. I'm by no means an expert on an awful lot of this, but I am learning, so I thought I would start this video cast to kind of share with you all as I go. So thank you for stopping by and saying hello and spending some time with me if you're new. Also thank you to any returning viewers. I'm sorry that I've made you wait so long between episodes. I had a little bit of a kerfluffle. I recorded one at the end of July and just never got around to editing it, and today I just decided that I would go ahead and record before I even had looked at that one and just kind of go with it. So, since it's been so long since I've shot one of these, I have an awful lot to share with you, and most of it is, at least for my finished objects, is from my own hand spun, and I have a lot of hand spun to share with you as well, so that's all very exciting. And a lot has happened. There have been fiber arts festivals and other things going on, so I'll share all of that with you, and hopefully this episode won't be too long. I'll try and kind of keep it short since I know everybody has a lot of other podcasts that you all want to watch too. I know I do. So, phew, that's an awful lot. So I think first I'm going to start with finished objects. I'll do knitting, and then I'll do hand spun, and then works in progress for both of them, and then just a little bit about kind of everything else that's going on in my life as far as fiber arts goes at the end of the show. So hopefully y'all are excited. I do have a bunch of things, and I may still edit that other episode and put it up before I put this one up, depending on how my computer is doing, so if there's any repetition, I apologize for that. So one of the things that I've done over the course of the summer is that my spouse creature is a henna artist, and I of course do fiber arts, so we've been doing a booth at the farmer's market, and we did a booth at the fair, so I knit lots of things not for myself that aren't particularly for anybody in my family or friend group either. So I've just been knitting them for sale just to use up yarn that I have, or just because I really want to try the pattern. So I've had a lot of stuff in my booth, and I'm putting together kind of an inventory for that. So most of what I've been trying to knit for that is from my hand spun and hand dyed things. So I am going to reference my phone to make sure that I get pattern names correctly and give credits to pattern authors where I have it. Here we go. So one of the things that I've been doing for my booth more recently has been just hats and smaller items, since we're coming into the fall season, and we'll probably have one more booth this year for like a holiday craft fair, but other than that, well, I'll talk about that later. But anywho, the stuff from hand spun and hand dyed things, what you're all here for. Knitting, here we go. So I've made a bunch of hats, which I don't normally make a ton of hats, but I have been doing some just for fun. And a lot of these were also an effort by myself to use up scrap hand spun that I had, just because I felt like it needed to be used, because we're coming into the season where I do most of my dyeing, which is the fall, when I've harvested a whole bunch of things, and I'm kind of preparing myself with a bunch of things to spin over the course of the winter. So I've used up most of the hand spun that I had stored away from last year from when I just started spinning. So this is stuff that's been knit up with scraps. So this is just a little fun colorwork beanie. This is called the Wendy Hat by Jill Fink, and it's supposed to have a pom-pom on it. There's the pattern. It is a free pattern on Ravelry. I'm not really a pom-pom person, and I was not sure how my handspun would have stood up in a pom-pom. I'm not sure. So the colorwork shows through better at the end. But, so the purple in this, this is all done in 2-plies. So the purple in this is dyed with Oregon grape, and the color from the berries in Oregon grape is kind of neat. It's like red cabbage where it's pH sensitive. So you can get this purple with, if your dye bath is more acidic, if you add baking soda to it and change the acidity, it will turn green, which is something I've talked about in the past. I showed projects that I made with the purple and the green both. And the color work is actually done in 2 different yarns since I didn't have enough of either one on its own. So there's kind of a taupe brownie color in there, which is a slippery jack, or it's a type of bullet mushroom that grows up here, and the yellow is peppermint from the garden. Ooh. So does anybody else have this problem on color work? It looked great, but there's a flaw here. So this is clearly not a very expensive hat, right? I'm having trouble getting it to line up, even after I've blocked it and tried to, because they aren't actually on different rows, and it's not so bad up here, but down here I've got this little jog, and I haven't done a lot of color work, so I need to look up more of that. But there you go. That one's pretty. I still think it's pretty cute. Little beanie. So that's one. Oh, great. Hat hair. And the next one is really fun as well. Well, I think all of this is fun. That's why I've done it. I suppose you'd probably be able to figure that out. So the next one, whoa, is really, really bright. And as you can probably tell, needs to be blocked. But the pattern for this is also another free pattern on Ravelry. It's called Stormy Waters by Elena Nodal, and she uses a variegated, stormy, beautiful, far more even yarn. This yarn is kind of special. This is my first, no it isn't, I've used lungwort before, but this is local lichen. So this was dyed with wolf lichen. I did a little tutorial and put it up here on YouTube. So if you want to see my dye process, you can look at my past videos, and that'll be there. I know I need to block it, but the pattern is just so fun, and the color that you get from wolf lichen, isn't that just amazing? It's actually brighter than it looks on the camera right now. It's really, really quite bright. Almost neon, this wonderful yellow. And I dyed this on wool that I bought at the Montana Fiber Arts Festival from an independent farmer. And it was really fluffy roving, and so I used it to learn to spin long draw on, which you can see from the texture, it didn't come out terribly even, but that didn't really bother me. I like my hand spun to look like it's handmade, and this textured pattern seemed like a good option. So yeah, there you go. Wolf lichen dye, spun long draw, very fun. Not even textured woolen spun yarn. Moving right along. I feel like I'm talking really fast. I'm going to try and slow myself down, so get through it all. So this is the next one. You can tell this was scrappy as well. The light's really good for this one. So the brown on this is that Slippery Jack mushroom yarn again. The lovely dusty brownie pink is from Choke Cherries, and the orange is from Lungwort Lichen. And these are all singles that I had spare from past weaving projects and other things. And this is a pattern by myself. So I'm really happy with it. It's very delicate and lacy and fun. It's got a fun lace spiral increase hat top, and I knit this top down. I think size 3 needles, and I'm just really happy with it. And it's just basic. It's a basic ribbed chevron lace pattern, and I think I'm going to poke around on Ravelry and see if there's anything else that's too similar to this, and if there isn't, I may see if I can recreate this hat with a different yarn that I'll show you in just a little bit. And if I can, and it turns out well, I might try and write this up as a pattern. And I know I've said that about other things in the past, but that was like brioche, and this is a little easier. So for writing a beginning pattern, for me as a beginner pattern writer, this may be a little easier for me. And it's perfect for hand spun singles if you've got leftovers that you don't want to chain ply after plying 2 bobbins together or something. It's just a fun way to use them up. Or self-striping. You can use color changing yarn for that. That one. Should I do just all the hats together? Why do you keep asking me questions? You're recording this by yourself. So the next pattern is a hat. This is done with commercial yarn and also needs to be blocked. This is so fresh off the needles, I haven't woven in the ends yet. So, but look how cute! Isn't that just adorable? Cute little lacy. It's a beret, so I'll block it over a plate, I think. Although it's really cute just as kind of a poofy hat, too. So this yarn is mystery yarn. I am blessed to have many friends who do things like buy me bags of yarn at yard sales. So this was already caked up. I have no idea what the brand is, what the color is. It's a 2-ply, it's a fingering weight. I have a debate depending on where I am and what the light looks like, whether or not it's pink or red. It's kind of one of those in-between colors. And it was really pretty, and I just wanted to make a hat with it, so I've done. I am going to have to look up the author for this pattern, and I will post it in my show notes for you all. The pattern name is Marzipan, which also I thought was perfect, very cute. The pattern writer, also free on Ravelry, but the pattern writer did not include their name on this pattern, on the actual PDF. So I do not have that available with me right now. But it's really cute, and it's one of those strange things. Like the ribbing was a little bit of a slog because there's like 15 rows of it at the beginning, which I thought was a bit much. But once you get into knitting the rest of the pattern, it just knits itself. It's so fun. I did read the pattern incorrectly. There are supposed to be purls between these 2 mirrored decreases here. And that's charted for you in the pattern. I just misread it and didn't do any purls. I still think it turned out pretty cute. And now I have to decide what to do with the leftovers. Whoops, sorry. Super close up. I was thinking of doing matching mitts for it, but I have 200 yards of this left, so I might do like a cowl instead. Would that be too much pink? I don't know. I'm probably not going to keep it for myself. I'll probably either gift it to someone or keep it for the booth in December, close to Christmas time. The holidays and all that. But the color is really nice, and it must just be maybe merino wool. It's very soft. It's very lovely. So there we go. Those are my hats, mostly from hand spun. I don't know, I'm so proud of myself when I look at all of this together. It was done over the course of several months, of course, but when you pile it up, it looks kind of impressive. So let's see here, the rest of it. I'll just go ahead and do my other commercial yarn finished object, which also I'm trying to figure out how I want to block this, so oh, I didn't use a pattern for this either. So, and it is also mystery yarn. Ta-da! And it's a lovely cowl. This is the problem I'm having. I need to reblock it because the bottom is supposed to be this lovely ziggy-zaggy edge. And even after blocking a little bit, it keeps curling under. So I'm going to have to figure out how I want to do that. And the rest of it is just a really squishy garter stitch. Knit sideways, of course. Very fun, very cheerful. This was yellow yarn from my friend Katie that she was never going to knit with. She says she thinks it's Knit Picks. It was fingering weight. It's this gorgeous golden yellow. I may keep this. I'm not sure. It's very soft. Super squishy. And for this, where is it even? I have to find it on the inside. There we go. My favorite thing about this cowl is you can kind of see it. You can see it more down here on the lace edging, but garter stitch is perfect if you're doing a cowl and you're just knitting it straight instead of in the round, which is how this was done. You can do a 3-needle bind off and it just blends right in pattern, so you can hardly see it there. But so I just did a 3-needle bind off on the end, and even if you did see it, like, doesn't that look neat? Just lovely. And still stretchy enough that it's fine. So, reblocking for the edge on that. We'll figure each other out. And I'll save that one for last. In the theme of using up my hand spun, I did a bunch of weavings when I first started spinning and dyeing, and I talked about that in my very first video cast, I think, or maybe the second one, but in any case, I did a bunch of dyeing with onion skins in particular, and I spun singles and wove with them and didn't know what I was doing, and of course they weren't very sturdy, but I had some singles left that were still in pretty good shape, so I made a very roughly, fairly giant, solar-ish shawl with a big ruffle edge on the bottom. So this is all hand spun, dyed with onion skin, mordanted with alum, although you don't have to mordant with onion skin dye. I think I like this side better. There we go. For onion skin dyes, you don't need to mordant. You get a much lighter color if you don't. Woo! How many shawls can I wear at the same time? And this was also just another made-up pattern. I think I did maybe 6 increases over the course of it to get the lovely crescent shape, and then these rows are just yarn over, knit two together basic lace towards the bottom. And it's pretty soft, it's pretty cheerful. I don't know what it is about onion skin dye, but this yellow, gosh, I just love it. It's so vibrant and happy and dark. I don't know. I don't think of that color when I think of onions. Well, I didn't until I started dyeing with them, but now I do. So there's that, and it's a pretty big shawl. I have the camera set up a little. I've stuck myself in the corner in the shop to try and get the best light, so hopefully the light from the window won't wash me out completely, but it's longer than my wingspan. It's not as deep as I'd like it to be, but my learning to spin enough yardage is another issue, but it's bigger than any of my other shawls. I can roll this and get a shawl pin, and it still fits down over my shoulders to the elbow. And I'm a pretty big girl, so I'm pretty happy with that. And it's really fun to have in my booth and see little girls in particular try it on all the time and spin around in circles. And this, I don't know, can you see the halo on the yarn too? It's really fuzzy. There you go. Which I love, actually. So, very fuzzy yellow shawl. So, this is the shawl that I don't remember if I've talked to you or not about in the past. I have tags on some of these things from the booth. I am spindle spun. So I'm going to talk to you about it again if I've already talked to you about it. But this is I call it the mermaid shawl. Ooh. And it's kind of getting blown out there, so you can't see the dye. This started out as a gift from a friend I'd done a fiber swap with randomly. She mailed me yarn that she had dyed with leftover Easter egg dye. This in here there's more lovely purple to it. It's not really coming through, but there's the spots that are looking more dark blue are actually kind of more purpley. Yay, and it's my wingspan again. It's a smaller little shawl. But this is with yarn that I spun on the drop spindle. And knit up, and I've got a thing for chevrons right now, I think. So this is a combination of a couple of patterns, I think. Where was it? Or did I just find one that... Oh, there we go. I lied. I thought I was going to put together a couple patterns for it, but instead I just used a bigger pattern and I had less yardage. So this is Elo by Heidi Alander. There we go. Which is lovely. And Elo means happiness in Finnish. And it does make me happy, so that's perfect. Ooh, I'm losing too many shawls. And it's a really fun pattern. I like that it's knit on the bias. I love these slanty kinds of shawls, and just I feel like the chevron with these little ridges of garter stitch was just perfect for the yarn and the color, how it turned out. So this was a project very long in completing since I spindle spun all the yarn, and that spindle spinning was my Tour de Fleece project. Not that I finished it all during the Tour de Fleece, but it was kind of my focus, my Tour de Fleece goal. I didn't really go for yardage, I just went for figuring it out. So there you go, mermaid shawl. Phew! So that's all for finished, completed knit items, but I do have other things for finished spinning, and one of them fell on the floor, so excuse me. So, first up, I have some more onion-dyed yarn. So this is a little different. This was dyed, and once again, I don't know if I've talked about this yarn already or not. I may have in a previous podcast, videocast, so if I have, I apologize. But, so here we go. It's been skeined up. So, I'm very happy with it. And I think in this skein I have 200 yards, and I have another skein like it that's not here, so I have about 400 yards total. And I did spin this with a plan to make a shawl out of it. So this is red onion skin instead of, well, that's pretty good, instead of regular yellow and brown onion skins. And there are actually 3 colors here. So there's this really vibrant, the bright yellow, almost like the yellow I got from the brown onion skins in the other shawls. There's a green, which is what you get if you add iron. So I did 3, I used 1 pot and I did 3 different rounds of wool in it. So the dark yellow was the first round. The lighter yellow, which was actually supposed to be a medium dark green, was the second round, where I added iron to the pot, because you can get greens from onion skins, red onion skins, if you add iron. I didn't add enough iron, and instead I got this kind of medium yellow. And then the green is from the last dye bath, where I added in iron. So if I had done that in the first dye bath, you can imagine how much darker that color would be. So I'm going to try that again later. So there's more of this. It's for the shawl. And myself as a dyer, I would say I'm not terribly scientific about it all. So I love it, and I do not keep very good records, which is something I'm working on. I need to write down what I'm doing more if I want to be able to replicate it, which I do. And I also, in the beginning, I was very good, and I started out weighing things, mostly for mordanting and just to have reference of, you know, the weight of dye stuff as opposed to the weight of wool and how things turned out, and I've been doing pretty much none of that since. So, working on that. So, I haven't been keeping very good records or measuring things. But there's the onion skin, and for this, where I was going with that, is that I ended up with more of the dark yellow and more of the green than the middle yellow. And when I spun this all, I kind of took all 3 colors and I pulled them apart into small little lengths of fiber that were roughly the same length, and then I spun them kind of end to end, and then I chain plied the singles to get a gradient to go back and forth between the colors. And my chain plying is getting better. My joins aren't nearly so obvious, so I'm really excited about that. So in the end, I had left over just the dark yellow and the green. So I just spun singles of those, and that's what this is. And this, I'm pretty sure I have enough yardage here with just the yellow and the greens, is what I'm going to use to try and recreate this. So I will let you know how that goes. I also am going to full this yarn, which I did not do with the singles before I knit that hat, which, had I thought about it, I probably should have done. I think there's enough twist in there that it shouldn't fall apart, but for anybody who doesn't know what fulling is you can spin singles in wool and then get a pot of very, very hot water and very, very cold water, and you dip it in the hot water and muss it around, and then dip it in the cold water and muss it around, and it doesn't really felt it completely, but it does help lock the fibers together more to give you a stronger singles. And I haven't done or used just singles yarn since I very, very first started spinning more than a year ago. So I will full this, and I will maybe just make a tiny little video snippet and put it up online to let you know kind of how it turns out from that. I haven't done it before, so we'll see how that goes. So this is technically not actually 100% finished. I'm going to full it before I knit with it. What else do I have over here? I think I may have talked about this yarn before, but I'm not sure, so I'll just talk about it again. So this, maybe I didn't. I don't remember. So this yarn, I'm really, really proud of. The light is washing it out a little bit. So it's kind of uneven, but I kind of did that on purpose. And look how balanced it is. Woohoo! And this is yarn that I dyed myself. I've been working really hard on not over-plying my yarn, which is something that's really easy for me to do. So this is wool that I dyed with my nephew with food coloring. And it was supposed to be far more rainbowy, but I put way too much food coloring in the dye bath, and it all blended together and became kind of greeny, browny, a little bit red in spots. So I think it looks very mossy, and especially since the browns turned out so muted, since I just plied it end to end and let it barber pull. It's like just the colors of the fir trees around here that have this kind of muted grayish bark, which I love. So I'm calling this my fir tree yarn. And I'm trying to remember my yardage on this. I think I might have just under 200 yards, maybe like 170. So I already have plans for what I'm going to do with this, which is a hat. I know, lots of hats lately, but this may be a hat that I keep. I'm not sure. And I have the pattern already. No, that's the wrong one. Sorry, I've been on a hat pattern downloading. Isn't Ravelry fantastic? So I'm going to use this yarn to make Of Creatures by Caitlin French, which, I mean, first of all, she's not super cute. She's super cute. Most of her patterns are free, and they're all fantastic, but I don't know if it comes across. There's like a little pleat and a great button, and it's really adorable. And I have enough yardage for it. The other thing that's really fantastic about this pattern is that it was designed for hand-dyed yarn, so that's awesome. And her yarn is kind of variegated like this, so I'll get a similar effect only in these colors. It's also neat because that pleat isn't knitted in, it's kind of added in at the end of construction, which, once again, free pattern. I'm not like ruining any terrible divulging information I oughtn't. And on top of it, the other thing that's very exciting about this is that there is a knit-along happening. There are actually a lot of knit-along things happening that I want to be involved with coming up here soon, but this one in particular has me very excited, which is that Anna from the Dunkelgrün podcast, which is fantastic. She is a chemist. She does a lot of natural and acid dyeing both, and talks about kind of the chemistry behind all of them in her podcast, which is really cool, so you should check that out if you haven't. But she is co-hosting a knit-along with Strawberry Fields, maybe, is the other podcast, which isn't one that I know very well. But they're hosting a knit-along where you use your own hand-dyed yarn. And I think most people are probably doing larger projects than I'm going to be doing for that. But I'm so happy with this accidental fir tree yarn that is also my hand spun, that this is what I'm going to use. So that knit-along starts on the 1st of October, and I am going to join in. But I think I have until like January to finish it, so I won't really be rushed to finish a hat in that amount of time. So yes, Anna from the Dunkelgrown podcast, I'm joining. I'm really excited, and that is going to be super duper fun. My other finished spin, I know I've already been talking to you for more than half an hour, so hopefully I'm worth listening to. Well, these have been skeined up a while, so they're a little crinkly from having been skeined. Is this, which I'm also extremely proud of. Ooh. This is the part of the video cast where I wish you could just reach through your screens on YouTube and touch this wonderfulness. So this yarn is wonderful for many reasons. Not only that it's hand-spun, 2-ply fingering weight that is lovely. It is baby alpaca, so it is heavenly soft. I have about 200 yards of it, and so it's probably not actually a fingering weight. I'm next to fingering weight. No, it is not actually a fingering weight. This is much. Well, actually, we'll say sport weight. The other thing that's fantastic about this is that this is local fiber. So this is from Olney, which is a little tiny town, like my little tiny town, that's about maybe 20 minutes south of here. And I unfortunately do not have her card. I found the tag. I'm trying not to knock anything on the floor. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Super close up of my face. So, I have the little card. So this is from the baby alpaca Alexis, which I thought was super cute. And her card is adorable, and I thought I had it in my purse. So, once again, I feel bad, especially since she's so local to me. She has an alpaca farm down in Olney. Her stuff was really lovely. She has a lot in beautiful natural colors. So I have this, and I also have, I bought 2 of these, so they were 50 grams each, I think. And I also have black that I didn't bring with me, but ended up about the same weight and a little bit less yardage. So I want to use them together, and I'm trying to decide what to do with them. I was thinking maybe like a little color work cowl thing, maybe. I'm not sure what to do with them. But it is very, very soft, and I'm just really happy with the yarn. And it smells good. Like clean alpaca, probably. Okay. So, moving on to works in progress. Since I was just talking about spinning, I will talk some more about spinning. I have embarked on a new spinning journey thanks to some fiber arts friends that I met at the Eureka Fiber Arts Festival. We have a local fiber arts festival here. It's tiny, it's cute, it's fantastic, I have to say that. It really is. I've also been tagged as one of the people to help organize it for next year, so of course I'm really biased on the subject and I want it to be a great success. And I met a lot of cool people, and some of the cool people that I met there are the Aquinos, Victor and Jean, and we are, I would say, friends now. And they are fantastic, multi-talented, gardening, fiber arts, mohair, goat raising, natural dyeing, fantastic people who live about an hour south of here. And I was lamenting when we were in the middle of all the wildfires. One of the reasons why I probably was not feeling up to podcasting is that, if you didn't know, Montana was on fire. Most of the northwestern United States was on fire. And up here it was particularly bad, where we couldn't see, certainly any of the surrounding area, let alone down Main Street. For a long, long time it was oppressive. And just very recently we finally, fall came and the weather broke and we got some rain. So the wildfires are out. Where was I going with that? Okay, maybe I'll edit that out. Maybe I won't. But the point is, I was lamenting about the wildfires because one of the projects I wanted to work on was harvesting and using natural plant fibers from around our area. And one of the most common things here is both flax and nettle. Nettles grow wild everywhere, and I've seen a few videos online, and it looks like a lot of work, but also a lot of fun, and I have the tools already to be able to do it. I have combs and cards, and a wheel, and a yard to let nettles ret in, which is where you let them kind of basically be wet for a longer period of time so that the core of the stalk will come away from the longer fibers that you actually want to be able to process to spin. So I wanted to go and collect some and start this process, and about the time when they were ready, and I should have gone and done that, we were in the middle of wildfire season, and no one was going on hikes. Well, maybe some people were, but I certainly wasn't, for my lungs' sake, going down to the nettle patch up by the river. So I skipped it, and I was lamenting. And Jean, who is very generous and nice, gifted me a giant bin, which I do not have with me, of flax. So I've been spinning flax. Ta-da! This is my first bobbin full, and is a new experience. It's definitely different from spinning wool. There's no grease, no traces of lanolin whatsoever. So it's definitely different. And I've done most of my research online. We do have a few books that I've referenced here in the shop as well, and there are varying opinions on how to spin flax. And this isn't like line flax, which is like really long stapled. This is commercially prepared top, I think from Louet, maybe, with a staple about yay long, 6 inches. And there are differing opinions all over the internet and books on how you ought to spin flax. Some people say you should spin it wet, some people say you should spin it dry. So I'm at the experimenting stage. This is my first bobbin full. I've started a second bobbin, but there isn't very much on it. And how I've been spinning for this is that I've been spinning over the fold, so I'm not taking a whole long piece of top and just kind of spinning across it like I like to do with wool when I'm spinning. I pull off about a staple length, and I've been spinning over the fold, so you fold it over your finger here, and I've been trying to spin fine, which is easier said than done. This isn't as, I've read that flax likes to be spun fine, which I bet it does, but part of it is me getting used to a new fiber at the same time as I'm also getting used to my new wheel, which is shacked matchless. I know. Thanks, Mom. So I'm getting used to a new wheel with a much wider range and ratio. I was spinning on an Ashford Traditional, which is a lovely wheel, but it has no whirl ratios for me to even begin to adjust or deal with, so I'm spinning on the smallest whirl I have available to me. I should look up what the actual ratio for that is. I don't know off the top of my head. And I plan to, when I ply it, I'm going to turn this into a 2-ply. I plan to ply on the next whirl up, treadling at about the same speed. So I'll do one skein that way, and then the next time I spin up a couple of bobbins, I'm going to use the same technique, only I'm going to wet spin, whereas basically with the hand that does the drafting, not that does the drafting, because I'm spinning long draw is the other thing, so I'm spinning over the fold, long draw, so I'm pulling this hand back and holding the fiber here with the pinch to, control the twist. So you wet these fingers, you keep a bowl by you and you put them in the water, and then you kind of smooth the fibers back, because you can see how fluffy this is, how much, like, these are really long flyaways. There's an awful lot of flyaway on this. And then at the end you boil the yarn to finish it, which I think will be neat, because if you have to boil it anyways, then may as well dye it, right? And I'll have to look into dyeing cellulose plant fibers as opposed to wool, protein-based fibers, different mordants, a whole new ball game. It's very exciting. And yeah, there's that. I have no idea how much is on here, but the amount of flax that was gifted to me is insane. It's a lot. It's like 5 bags of 8 ounces each. So I have a lot to play with, and I'm really excited. And my plan with these, after I ply them up and dye them or don't dye them, is to weave with them. So I'm weaving linen. It's not quite harvesting the plant from scratch, but, I'm still really, really quite excited about it. And I'm really glad that I didn't end up with bleached flax, because I like this natural color, so I'm not sure if I'll dye it or not. And it's softer than I expected it to be, because I know, when you're done of it, you see all the videos of traditional flax processing, and all the ladies are down at the river beating the skeins on the rocks. I know I'll probably still have to do some of that, but it's not that bad. And I don't find it unenjoyable, which is good, because I find the idea kind of, I don't know, cool and romantic. I guess that's why we do this, right? Because we love it. So, sorry, scratchy throat. Works in progress. I'm going to go through hopefully kind of quickly. I'm going to try and keep this at about an hour. It may be a little longer, because I have a few other things to talk to you about. But, okay, so moving right along, leaning again. Surrounded by projects on all sides. Oh, just for the record, because I talked about it in previous podcasts, for those of you who are returning viewers, you will know that I've been trying to knit a pair of socks a month. And I had been working on the Rose City rollers for the spouse creature. They are done. They're absolutely finished. I do not have them with me today because they insisted on wearing them today, which is their day off. So how could I, how could I deny them the chance to wear handmade socks on their day off? They're cute. I'll post a photo. I'll get a photo and post a photo after I've, done all that. So, works in progress. The rainbow shawl. I started this rainbow shawl, ta-da, during Pride Week for my spouse creature, who can get away with wearing rainbows far better than I can. Look at the wonderful colors and the just beautiful, there's a word for this, modeling, tonal, thank you, tonal colors in this die. This is another prize that I got at the Montana Fiber Arts Festival. So this is an indie dyer based out of Idaho, whose card I also don't have with me, and I don't have the tags for this, so apologies to that person again as well. But I will link everything in my show notes, I promise. And last time I showed this, I think I was maybe striping in the orange, so I've striped in the orange now, and I'm on to the yellow. And holy, what was I thinking? I've been saying that a lot lately. I think what I've been thinking is that I've been influenced by the podcast world of YouTube and amazing knitters. And on YouTube, with the amazing podcasters, they all knit giant shawls out of fingering weight yarns and sweaters out of fingering weight yarns. And it's not that I can't do it, I just cannot do it with nearly the speed that these other people seem to be able to do. Like, oh my gosh, I don't even know how many cardigans that the Knitting the Stash podcaster has knit so far this year. Many. I feel like I have yet to complete... Okay, that's not true. I've made a bunch of shawls. A bunch of shawls. On, like, big needles. So, it's not quite the same thing. But this is a lace weight merino single. Very nice. Very lovely. And these are size 3s. Cubics, which are so cool. I know I've talked about them before. They're square. They're lovely. But there are so many stitches on this. And it's just like a crescent shawl, so I'm just making it up as I go. I may or may not put a lace border on the edge where I have, you know, blue, indigo, violet. I haven't decided yet, but there are a lot of stitches on these needles already. This thing is going to be massive. And I do have the whole spectrum to go through. These are just the first 3 colors, and I have this much more yellow to go. I'm not even sure how to deal. I'm not sure when the spouse creature is going to get this shawl. It may be a longer term project, but I keep knitting away on it every Saturday at coffee with her grandparents. That's what we do Saturday morning. Grandparents, coffee, and knitting. So, someday, a shawl. And I won't show this every time, probably. Maybe every time I get onto a new color, because otherwise it gets kind of repetitive and probably a little bit boring for you. And I'm getting my pattern for the next one. The next in progress pattern I have is the Ariosa cropped cardigan designed by Susan Mills, which looks super cute. Very cute. Look at those short row sleeves. Super cute. I'm trying to see if there's a better picture. There isn't. But there you go. So this pattern I started after a friend gifted me with some really fabulous Noro rainbow roll yarn. And I'm trying to decide if I'm going to put it on for you. I don't know, you guys. I was very excited about it. I'm not 100% finished with it. This is where I'm at. You see that? I've been very proud of myself because I did color management for this to try and keep the 2 main sides. They aren't entirely alike. This has more pink, but overall it's not that bad. Continuation of the back. So you knit the back first. You start and then you split for the arms, and then you knit the back first in the 2 front panels. And then I've picked up for the band all around, and then you pick up just the front parts, not the rest of the collar, and then you knit the button band and the other side for that to extend it for that front piece. And I don't know, I feel like, no, there we go, it's just, I feel like I may have done something not right with the neck here. But in any case, I am going to put this on. I'm just not sure, and I'm a larger person, so I look really good in flared, poofy, fun skirts and like 1940s cut cardigans and sweaters that hit me like right at the waist. And this, whoa, I'm really close to you, I'm sorry. I just don't know. It's a little shorter than I expected it to be. And once again, like, the front part isn't done yet. It will have, I'll pick up, I'll continue. It will have buttons. But especially in the back, first of all, it flips way up. I don't know how to do that. Like, I haven't blocked it yet. But it flips way up. And if I let this come up any to compensate for that, then it's, you know, then it comes up to be, what am I going to do? I'm going to talk about it like the fat squirrel squeeze. It comes up over my boobs. It would. And it doesn't really have the fit that I want. So I'm not sure what to do about it. And the sleeves, the short rows on the sleeves were nice, but I just don't know. I'm not sure. I expected to be in love with it because the yarn is super neat, but I'm not really. And I'm not done, but since I'm not in love with it, I haven't really been focused very much on finishing it, even though it's a quick knit project. And this was done with a Noro Rainbow Roll. I don't remember the color name. I used size 10 needles, I think. Like, the colors are fun. But I have a plan. My plan is, I'll finish this. And if when I finish it, and before I put buttons on it, I don't love it, what I'm going to do is I will try felting it a little bit. And we'll see how much it shrinks. The thing with the Noro Rainbow Rolls is that they're like Lopi yarn. Like this, which I have right behind me in my conveniently in the yarn shop. Good grief. That is more of a mess than I expected it to be. Okay, so they're like Lopi yarn, like Icelandic Lopi yarn. They come in a big cake like this, and it's not spun. It's just kind of drafted. Like, this is very, very fine pin roving. So if you tug on it, it comes right apart. But I also think that it might felt like a lot. I have no idea. I don't think it's superwash. So I should be able to felt it. And the good news is that even if I end up with a tiny little cropped cardigan that I have to give to a small child, I have another one of these in just these same colors, and I can make myself something else with it. And that will be fine. I'm alright with that. So, moving right along, my next work in progress is definitely a long-term knit, which I am working on, and I talked a little bit about in previous episodes, which is everyone's been doing those metered square blankets, and I decided that that looks like fun, and I have a lot of sock yarn scraps, so I want to do a skirt out of the same fabric since it's so neat and fun and beautiful. So here it is. Ta-da! Way more than last time. I think, yeah, I don't know, how, but way more than last time. Sorry if you hear bumping in the background, that's my dog. But this is the bad downside to it. Ah! Look at those ends. There are so many of them. There are a million of them. Which I really ought to stop and weave in now before it gets crazy. But I understand now why people are making blankets out of these, because this is so stinking fun to make these little squares. They're just in garter stitch. You just do a decrease at the middle. You pick up the edges on them, and on you go. And it's very fun. And you can remember what you used all of them for. What's been interesting for me is that I've kept my sock yarn scraps like since I started knitting. Like these, does this color look familiar? I know I've talked on the show about the socks that I made from this yarn. I made them 10 years ago. I've never darned them once, and they've held up really well. I know some people really go through their socks, and I don't seem to. I wear them all the time. But The other secret about this yarn and about this yarn is that I knit them when I first started knitting, when I thought that yarn came from Joanne. Not that, you know, craft shop yarn, fine, it's alright. But the point is, these are both acrylic yarns. And they're awful. They're not great. Like, the colors are fun. This one at least must be a wool acrylic blend. But I have like this super scratchy acrylic yarn down there, and then you get up to this and it's like, oh, bamboo. So the overall feel of the fabric is going to be very kind of interesting. So yeah, that's progressing along. Alright, that's it. That's all I have with me. Phew, and we just hit the hour mark, and I feel a little bad, but I'm going to keep gabbing because I have just a little bit more news that is so exciting, aside from the Fiber Festival, which I talked to you about briefly, and other things. So should I do Fiberfest? Okay, so I really hope that anybody watches all of this. It's a little long. But the Fiber Arts Festival, I have a few new other things to talk to you about. One of the other video casts that I love, I feel like I'm dropping a lot of names, but if you don't know about these video casts, you might want to watch them because they're awesome, is Fiber Trekking, which is fantastic. And the lady who does Fiber Trekking says that her favorite part of other podcasts is acquisitions, which is something that I kind of have skipped over in the past and not really done. Mostly because I thought it would be a little more boring and that everybody was probably more interested in the patterns and the knitting and the process instead. But she's convinced me, so I'm adding acquisitions to my video cast for now. I'm not a big yarn buyer. I don't tend to purchase a lot. I mean, I have the yarn shop here that I am partnering in and hopefully going to take over one day. So I have a lot of yarn at my available, but I still don't tend to buy a lot. I'm much more into processing fees and spinning it myself. So I don't buy a lot. But I bought some yarn at the Eureka Fiber Arts Festival, which is very exciting for any number of reasons. So first of all, I'm going to show you the yarn. Are you guys ready for this? Holy cow, look at it! Look at this beautifulness. This really pinky tonal purple and this gray and black and white with speckles. Like, I know you can you see that? There's some yellow speckles hiding in there too. Oh my gosh. Beautiful! Isn't that gorgeous? So this is from the Polka Dot Sheep out of Whitefish, Montana. Whitefish is about an hour south of us, so this is truly a local indie dyer, and it's done by the owner of the Knit and Needle yarn shop down there, who's very friendly and very fantastic, and her stuff is really, really beautiful. She is also a very, very talented pattern designer on Ravelry. And let's see here. So these colors, I can give you the colorway. Her base is called Tenderfoot, which is 80/20 merino nylon. This is a fingering weight, 400 yards, 100 grams each. And this one is called Juneberry. And this one is called Summer Storm. There's a good spot. Can you see the yellow and then with the pink? So, very cool and very awesome. And her logo is cute, her shop is cute, her stuff is really fantastic. I'm just so pleased, and it's very soft and squishy, and I have a project planned for it already, which I am also excited about. Only if I can get my phone to go back to it. Oops. Which is the... Have you noticed that when you open patterns in iBooks, it kicks things down the list? Ta-da! The Meandering Shawl by Stephen West. I'm doing the fingering weight version. I thought about doing the DK weight version, but the truth of the matter was that I could not afford quite that much yarn at that time. And even though I wanted the larger shawl, hopefully it will be big enough for me when I'm done with it. 800 yards is pretty sizable. And it's brioche, and oh my gosh, it took me so long to choose my contrast yarns, my yarns for this, because I wanted things that matched more. That's my tendency. I tend to want things to match. So I had to remind myself that for brioche, high contrast. So here it is. And I think these little pink speckles will satisfy me as the carryover for this. Hello. I have my dog. My dog is demanding love right now. So there's one thing. And the other thing I ended up with, they probably don't look as lovely now. Hey, I'm back. Sorry about that. I think that what happened was that my iPad ran low on batteries and basically nearly died on me. Shawl promo, whoa! Isn't that beautiful? I did not make it. I did not make this at all. If you want to know more about the shawl, you can look at past episodes. That was my friend Gwen. We did a swap. You can see the little, well, not little, the sweater shrug thing. I traded him for it. Not me. Not me. But it looks good on me. So there's that. Okay, so before the dog and the dead battery, I was talking about what I got at the Eureka Fiber Arts Festival, and this was the last thing I got. Not just this one, but a whole giant, beautiful, what looked like a bouquet of these giant rollags, all carded together in amazing purples and pinks, and it's got sparkle and silk, and I don't even know what else is in there. Little pops of orange and green, recycled sari silk. Isn't that wonderful? And I need to look up the name of this particular fiber artist. She's also an indie dyer. She makes beautiful hand spun, but I purchased those as I had just finished up the yarn that I used to make my mermaid shawl, so I would have another spindle project. So here is, I should have done this in works in progress, sorry guys. Here is the spindle spun in progress. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy with it. It is so fun. I have no idea what I'm going to make with it at the end. We'll see what my yardage is and what it looks like plied up. I'll probably just do a 2-ply. But oh, look at all those pops of color. Super fun. And I feel bad, especially since she's local, but I will look her up and share her information with you. Okay, so that was the Eureka Fiber Arts Festival. We are kind of taking over, and new people are going to be running it next year. I'm one of them. My good friend Nikki Flora, who's also a mohair goat raiser / fiber artist, will be another one. So that's some exciting news. That's next August, so we have a while, thankfully. We've got to get going now. My other exciting news involves a fiber arts retreat, which I can hardly believe is happening. So there is going to be a fiber arts retreat in Boulder, Montana, which is, they have a wonderful hot springs there and an old resort full of antique furniture and beautiful food and cold and hot plunges, and it's just really lovely. And the retreat is going to be done by Kate Larson, who has written this book by Interweave Press, and I have to say it's for like an overall book for processing fleece and different wools, and kind of not quite a raw beginner's book, but for a little bit more in-depth, but not quite so in-depth as like the Fleece and Fiber Source book. This book is really fantastic. But she has independent little write-ups on different breeds and washing wool, carding wool, process things in here, lovely photos. It's really well written. But she is the person that is leading this retreat in Boulder Hot Springs, which is a yarn and yoga retreat, which both yarn and yoga are loves of mine. So I'm really excited, and my mother has gifted me for my birthday, which was yesterday, that I get to go. So I'm very excited, and I will probably meet a bunch of really fantastic people from all over while I'm there, and I will get to take classes from Kate Larson and yoga classes from a yoga instructor out of Helena, which is the capital of our state. And I am really, really quite excited. That's in about 2 weeks, so my next podcast will probably not be in 2 weeks because I will be doing that for 4 days over in Boulder. Yeah. So, it's been kind of crazy. I feel like sometimes the universe just puts things kind of into place for you. And for me, fiber arts has been one of those things. My first wheel was a gift. My upgraded wheel was a totally unexpected windfall. People have gifted me looms and fleeces and wool and flax and knowledge, and it's just really amazing, our community and how everybody shares with one another. So I also have kind of a couple of hookups for fleeces and wool that I didn't expect. I am going to end up with some free Icelandic fleeces. Apparently 3 bags full, 3 30-gallon trash bags full of unskirted Icelandic fleeces. Unskirted, that's kind of a bummer, but if they didn't want them and they weren't planning on selling them, and I am totally happy to have them. So I will be learning to skirt from my friend Siri Larson, who also raises sheep and has a small flock and dyes her own wool and is very cool and is gonna give me the rundown on that, and has a skirting table, which is the important part, which I don't have. I also have made contact with someone here who raises Suffolk sheep, which a lot of people don't think of the wool as being very great from. They're a down breed, and I don't believe they have any fleece available now, but they probably will in the late spring, early summer, and I will have that as a local connection to get wool that I can then process and dye. So things just kind of seem to come together in the world of wool for me. So I'm just really excited and kind of overwhelmed by it all, and putting some gratitude for all of that out into the world. Whew. And with all that's probably about it for me. I have been doing some other dyeing. There may be short little videos from me on that, and there certainly will be postings from me on that on my Instagram feed. So thank you all for joining me today. I am sorry that the podcast was quite so long. I'll normally try and keep it a little shorter than this, but I had so much to tell you all. I'll try to be more regular with my uploads and things from now on to kind of keep this from happening again, so I don't have to take up quite so much of your time. But thank you for stopping on by. Thank you to anyone who supports me as an artist on Patreon through Fox and Spider Arts. You especially are really encouraging for me to continue in all of this work. And I hope you all have wonderful fiber, yarn, spinning, knitting, fantastic filled weeks. And I will see you all in a little bit.